I'm Lisa Leibering. I'm the costume designer for Dontrell, Who Kissed the Sea. And I'm going to talk a little bit about my process and then a little specifically about what we're doing in Dontrell. So as a costume designer, I'm also a builder, so I'm very into my materials, and my process is very involved in connecting with my fabrics and then connecting with my color palette and running that all through the director's vision. So when we started, reading the script, understanding the context, and then multiple meetings with our director, NaTasha. And throughout the course of those meetings, we developed a color palette that we wanted to use. We developed an idea for an evolution of the characters, since we have these multiple characters in the company who are on stage throughout the piece, sometimes as specific named characters, but oftentimes just as company members. And so we wanted to have a bit of a visual shorthand for that when they're becoming their characters. And then, through all of that, running through all of that is the ideas around Yoruba faith, Yoruba culture, and how we're bringing that in. So one of the ways that we're doing that is through a color palette, and we're signifying that on the characters through necklaces. So we have here these beads that are going to be turned into the necklaces for the mother and Danielle, who we are connecting to the Orisha of Yemaya. And so we have blues and silvers and a little bit of pale blues. And then this one is for Shay, and we have whites and silvers, and that's for the Orisha Obatala. And then this one is for the dad, and we have greens and yellow and golden colors, and that's for Arunmila. And then this one is for Robbie, and we have reds and blacks, and that's for Alegba. And so these necklaces, which also connect to the Yoruba faith, because beads and beaded items are, again, part of the faith practice, will be present on those actors, whether they are the characters or the company members. And so we'll have that through line of that color palette. And we'll also have a through line in their character pieces that they'll put on, which will be contemporary clothing, such as the dad wears a cardigan, or Shay wears a vest when she's at work. When they're company members, they're going to be in clothing that's more reminiscent of a West African silhouette. So we're going to have lots of shaped garments in this way. In Nigeria and throughout Western Africa, we work a lot with rectangles. Okay, so they have pieces that do this, and then drape of the fabric creates the garment. And we'll be working in these color palettes in shades of blues and grays and whites. So for the fabric, again, as I said, I'm very connected to the building and the textiles that I work with. So for this particular show, not only because of the cultural reference that we were having, but also because of the level of activity that the performers have, from dance and movement and a very active performance, we wanted to put them into fabrics that would breathe, fabrics that would be comfortable for them to wear, and fabrics that would have a movement that would feel cohesive with the rest of the show. So I'm using this fabric as their primary fabric for their costumes that are their company costumes, as well as in their ancestor costumes. This is called a bubble gauze. It's 100% cotton fabric, which is lovely, because then we're going to dye some of it too. It has this really cool texture that is like indicative of ripples across water, for me, is what it feels like. So it's sort of supporting that water metaphor that we have going through the piece. And it has a really nice, soft, subtle application of the color. So even when we do over dyeing with it, because of the nature of the cotton fabric, it has this more organic feel, again, sort of a softer in tone, that I think is really keeping with our overall color palette, and in keeping with this idea of this kind of magical, mystical journey, keeping it very human-centered. So we don't have some vibrant piece of fabric that's sort of overwhelming the human on stage. Instead, we have these garments that can feel very supportive of the human on stage and supportive of their process. And so as they're the company members at the top of the show, while they will have a silhouette that's reminiscent of, again, Western African and Nigerian traditional clothing, They will have additional pieces that come on at the end of the performance when they're being representatives of the ancestors that are very explicitly referential to especially Nigerian clothing, and that's primarily going to come across in these rectangular shapes that we will see in terms of vest pieces, crossbody pieces, and drape pieces in that. In terms of Dontrell's character, because he's slightly different, so he'll start out in his character costumes. He will evolve through that. We're going to not reveal everything, so when you see the show, you'll be surprised. His costume will evolve as he evolves throughout the show, again, becoming more referential to his ancestors, more reverential to his heritage, and connecting him in that way, but while still not losing his character self, as he is indicative at the beginning. And then we have Erica, who is a slightly different character. We're bringing her out in some different tones that refer back to her Viking ancestry. So she'll have some of these rusts and burnt oranges that again play really nicely with this blue. So she's not going to be completely absent of the blue. She too, we will see an evolution with her as she is coming into herself and her being. But again, her character elements will remain constant as a presence, just not necessarily an explicit presence.